So I've been doing portrait photography for about almost 10 years. I started in 2016. That's when I brought my first camera, grabbed some friends. I said, hey, let's do some photos. And from there to now, I think not just my style, but how I edit photos has changed drastically. I take into account from just learning from other people, spending some time on YouTube, learning some tricks there, and then as well as Lightroom, just getting better. Because when I was using Lightroom, you had your Lightroom Classic, and then you had your Lightroom Mobile, but then that mobile app became like a desktop version as well. So I would say from 2016 to now, almost a whole decade, I experienced a lot of change, and I thought to myself, I've learned a lot. I feel like I'm the type of person where if I learn something really cool, I'm always going to try to share it with everyone. So that's why I'm making this video, because I want to share some of my tips and tricks that I've learned from starting to now, and how it's made, I guess you would say, my work more efficient, as well as just how it allowed me to experiment my change in photography. Because if I looked at the photos I took back then to what I take now, it's completely different colors, different styles. And it's, like I said, it's all particularly in Lightroom, where it really kind of defines, I guess you would say, my color grading in a way. So like I said, this video is showing off the things I do in Lightroom that has made my editing proficient. If you're a beginner photographer, actually, I don't even want to say beginner photographer. If you're someone who does photography, this is a good video for you, because it might be something that may make your editing sound much easier. Because I believe in the idea that no matter what, you can be the master at something, but there's always going to be room for growth and development and learning. So that's why I'm making this video. So with that being said, let's hop right into it. Let me pull up Lightroom real quick. Perfect. So I did a photo shoot with my friend Kiana. I'll put her Instagram down below. But I picked 7 photos to kind of show you an example of the first tip that I will give you, is how I cull through Lightroom. Now, this is kind of a touchy subject because people will prefer the other softwares that are not Lightroom. So not Capture One, but like something like Photo Mechanic. Photo Mechanic was very well known to culling through photos. Wedding photographers use it, event photographers use it, because for a very long time, Lightroom couldn't, how do I put it? They couldn't display the JPEG image from the raw files quick enough. So people got kind of like, ugh, like, I don't want to deal with that. So Photo Mechanic was their solution, or other culling softwares, because they focused on that capability of pushing forward JPEG images of the raw image. It's like a snapshot, I guess you would say. So people were using Photo Mechanic. I was using Photo Mechanic for a while, but Lightroom has gotten much better at it. I think they can display JPEG images faster than they used to. I remember I struggled so hard, which got me into Photo Mechanic. But I ended my subscription this year because it was I ended it last year because it was about $300, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm just gonna stick just using with Lightroom. And I've developed my own method that I'd like to share with you. So, like I said, I have 7 photos here. We're gonna go over how I kind of would go through them. So on your keys from numbers 6 to 9, you can set a color labeling to them. So I believe the colors are red, yellow, green, and blue. So whatever you want to prefer, you can use whatever color method you want. I like using blue. I don't know why. I just like it. But what I would do is, if I'm going through these photos, and let's say, for example, this one here, her eyes are closed. I think intentionally she was doing that. But let's say, for example, she blinked and my shutter speed didn't capture her, or she blinked too fast for my shutter speed to capture. I'd be like, okay, I don't want this photo. Maybe let's say it was too dark and I didn't want that. I'd leave it as is. I'd go to the next photo. And I'm like, you know what? Wait, I really like this photo. I would select a label, set it to blue. That indicates to me that, hey, I like this one. I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to go to the next one. I'm like, oh, wait, that's a good one. I'm going to set it. I'm going to go to the next one. Not a huge fan. I don't like it because there's vignetting here. And then the next one is like, okay, cool. Like, I like this one. I'm going to set it to blue. Perfect. And then I'm going to go to the next one, set it to blue. Now, if you don't want to use colors, you can use ratings. So you can use ratings 0 to 5. So you can be like 5 is the one I want to use, 1 is the ones I don't want to use. You can develop your own method on how you do it. For example, if I'm doing a group photo shoot, I will use a different color to indicate it. So like, let's say this was a different person on the screen, I'd use 7 to be like, okay, that's for that person, I want to keep that. You can also use it to say, hey, wait, I like this photo. I know 10 more down the road, there's something similar to this. Let me compare and contrast. So I'm gonna set this one to yellow and I'm gonna set the other one to yellow. So you can build your own method, but that's how I like being like color coordinated. And so that's how I do it. So when we go to the full view, you can see the ones that I like that are blue, the ones I don't like are not colored. So let's, for example, I want to bring all the colored ones together and leave all the ones that unmarked off to the side. I go to the filter and I get label color, and then it's now going to show all the ones I selected blue and all the ones I didn't want. So that's how I do culling in a nutshell. It's nothing difficult, nothing crazy. And what's really nice is you can actually delete the photo from Lightroom, so you can get rid of it. You're like remove from Lightroom, it's gonna take it off Lightroom, but it's gonna still be on your computer. But then you can actually do delete from disk, so it will completely wipe it from your computer. So you have that method. So like I said, rather than having to use a software, you can use this directly in Lightroom, which is chef's kiss. Now, the other thing I do is I like to organize a lot of my photos itself. I use this thing called collections. This is on the right below collections. You see the thing that says smart collections. You know, it has a few methods or whatever. But let's say, for example, I want to save these all together, so then I can just go to that collection. It's like an album pretty much, and I just want to edit those, and I want to get, you know, what's the word I'm looking for, like distracted by other photos. So you can go there, you click the plus button, you hit create collection, let's say beach shoot, and I hit create. It's gonna put it all in this one file. So now rather than having to see all of these here, these are just some sample photos I had, I can go directly to beach shoot and not be distracted at all. So that's how I keep organized with multiple client photos. On here, I don't have it synced up to my cloud, but on my main computer I do. So when I make collections on there, it will sync to the cloud, so then that way I can be able to access it like through my phone, or if I can edit through the Lightroom like desktop cloud app software, whatever you call it. So I have flexibility to edit kind of wherever I want to. All right, if we go over to the development tab, let me actually select a photo. I'm gonna kind of go over a few things in an editing nutshell of what kind of makes, I don't know, I guess you would say easier for me in a sense. When we're individually in editing a photo, I highly recommend using masking. Just like Lightroom, it creates mask over top of another mask. Or sorry, I said Lightroom, I meant Photoshop. But it creates certain masks for certain things. So I did one for the subject, I'm gonna do one for the sky, and then I'm gonna do one for, let's say, the entire background. So normally I normally would do a sky and a subject if I'm doing like landscapes. But if I'm doing as a person, I only do, let me get rid of this, delete. I do a background and I do a subject, because when I'm editing using the main exposure tab or the basics right here, and let's say I'm editing here and I'm trying to line up things, but I realize like, oh, everything else is too bright. I now have a masking tool to kind of reduce it, to kind of, get the proper exposure I want. But within these masks, not only you can do basic exposure adjustments and contrast and all that, but you can also do colors. You can do point colors. So then everything that's blue, you can adjust as blue. You have options to do tone curves, effects. So you have a lot of freedom to do it there. So that's one of my biggest tips I would say use, is a lot of your masking, because it's going to save you so much time not having to, adjust one thing at a time. And then you're like, oh, my photo looks horrible. So it's a big tool. I'd recommend using. My sleep thing just went on because I'm filming at night. So, oh well. The other tool I would say I love using is color grading. Color grading is what you're doing is you're separating, or not separating, you're coloring your highlights, you're adjusting the color of your shadows, and then as well as your midtones. This is where I feel like you can develop your style, because you're like, maybe I'm a big fan of green, so I want to make it look a lot of green in my highlights, or my midtones, I want to make them really blue to give this, I don't know, like vintage feel. And my shadows, I want them to make them like kind of greenish to kind of do a filmic look. This is where you kind of can do it. And I've always loved color grading. And I think it's one of like just my favorite tools to use constantly. So if you're looking to develop your style, the color grading tool as well as your tone curve tool are the two tools to use to kind of color grade. Because like you can do the same thing. You can adjust the highlights, the shadows in here, as you know, furthermore. So I would say big thing about using the tone curve and color grading as your main kind of experimental colors. The other one I would use is calibration. This is where you adjust more of your primaries and stuff. I mean, even I know I'm not even editing this, and I kind of like the way the colors look, so it's kind of funny. But those three I would say are very big on trying to find your sense of style. Color mixer really then pinpoints certain things. So let's say this is where I kind of use a lot of the time to adjust most of the time skin tones, because now I can then, you know, adjust it from here. Because let's say, for example, she was like too green, I can bring up the orange a little bit more. So like I said, color grading, tone curve, and calibrations are your biggest things to kind of experiment and to define your style. Those are the ones I always use the most. One cool thing I've noticed is, let's say you're doing your tone curve and it looks too much, and then you're like trying to figure out, okay, like where am I messing up? You see these little eye things right here? If you click it, it will turn off that adjustment. So if you're ever trying to figure out where the hell you messed up at, this is the best tool to use to turn these off and see, like, okay, is it that? Is it the exposure? Is it the color calibration? So it works for all of them. So as you see there, these ones are not illuminated because I haven't touched them yet, but everything else is there. Now, the last editing tool I would mention is the lens corrections. Now, this is very, I wouldn't say like controversial. It's a horrible word, but I know a lot of people don't like using this. I know some people love this. I like using it because, especially when you're using zoom lenses like a 24-70, 16-35, you can enable profile corrections. So what that's going to do is going to get rid of any barrel distortion, close out that vignetting, and then it's going to remove all your chromatic aberrations, which is it's like a fringing of colors that you would see on fine edges. I don't think you can see it here if I zoomed in. I can't even zoom in anymore. Why not? Let me do this. Let me see. If I zoom in, you really can't see any because it's pretty. The 24-70 I use is really good. So, but I use that to kind of make any lens adjustments, because I've noticed it does sometimes make an impact of my photo. It sometimes, I feel like with certain lenses, particularly wide lenses 16-35, people's bodies can feel distorted because depending on how you shoot, certain parts of the image can look weird. So I use this a lot. I know, like I said, people don't like using it. I do too. I don't know, it's just me. All right, cool. Let's say all these photos are edited, or actually not. Let's take that back. Let's step back. Let's say they're not edited. Let's say, for example, this one here, I'm done. I'm like, hey, I like the way this looks. This looks perfect. But then I'm like, there's 25 more photos that I gotta do the exact same thing here. So I'm gonna show you a very good trick in the book. So holding Shift on your keyboard, make sure the image you loved, how you edited, is selected. Holding Shift and going all the way down to the photo you want to stop at. So for example, I'm going to select these 5 photos because I want to transfer the exact same editing style over to these ones. Your best friend in this moment is this button right here called Sync. Click that. It's going to pull up this menu. Now it's going to show you everything you're syncing. So everything that's blue check marked, it's going to say, hey, this is what's syncing over. You can do your treatment profile, your basics, your curves, your color mixers, your calibration. If you edit in high dynamic range, if you transform your images, like you made some like level upscales or whatever, it can even transfer your maskings. Along with that, it can do the removal, any crop. So you can transfer everything you've done in this one particular photo to all of them by just one click of the button. And that, like I said, all you do is click sync. This menu pops up. Make sure what you want to sync over is selected, and then you just hit synchronize, and it's gonna do its thing. Now, if you have a crap ton of photos, it may take a minute or two, but in this scenario, I only had 5. So, but everything I did was copied over. I mean, this is an example. This actually looks really cool. Let me see the other one. That looks cool. And this is just me this is not me really doing any much editing. This is just me goofing around and show you some tips. But that is how I edit photos, like a fat chunk really fast. If you ask anyone I've ever worked with, they tell you I can get photos with people within like 2 to 3 weeks because they can go like that real fast. But that's just the best way to do it, especially if you have, let's say, for example, like 10 of this exact same photo, not exact same photo, but the exact same lighting, the exact same exposure, how like this here. That's how I would kind of copy and paste, and it's made editing faster. And I'm not saying like do that and then move on to the next ones. This allows me to paste everything down and then go to each one individually and like look at it. Like, okay, like let's say this here, for example, I'm like, oh, she looks too orange. I can make minor adjustments and fix it. It fixes the whole image. Here, let's say I'm saying like the sky right here is too washed out. I can make an adjustment easily without having to do everything from scratch. So this sync button is your best friend. I highly recommend using it because, like I said, it's going to make your editing really, really, really fast. So yeah, use it, abuse it, do what you want to do. Now, the last tip I want to give you is how I transfer photos. Now, you can use collections. This will transfer into being a what's the word I'm looking for? Into an online album. But one thing I do use a lot is Pixieset. That's how you transfer a lot of these photos into an online album. You can get a plugin to be attached to here. I'll post a screenshot of that plugin I have on my main computer. But yeah, you can create a smart album, put it into that plugin, and then it will automatically upload to your Pixieset album. So that's the only tip I have for sending photos because my camera is about to die right now. So I gotta wrap this up. But yeah, Pixieset, super easy. This is not even a sponsor. I love it because you can not only send your albums, but you can also create a website. You can create a store from there. It's a really good thing. I think it's only $30 a month, and then it goes up based on like what you want to add to it. And like I said, you can do a plugin that goes right here that you can then just create those albums there, and then you don't have to worry about it. So yeah, that's how I send photos to my friends or my clients or whomever I'm working with. I hope this was very helpful for you guys. Definitely shoot down in the comments any questions you have. I don't know if I really want to go dive into like a whole video of how I edit, because I think to me the way I edit is just crazy. It doesn't make sense, and sometimes I'm all over the place. But yeah, like I said, if you have any questions about what I just showed you, comment down below. If you like this video and it was very helpful, definitely like it and subscribe. I do want to keep making more videos like this, and maybe I will show how I edit portraits, like just dedicate one video of like this is a step-by-step of how I do it, because this was more of like tips and tricks to make me a fluid and very efficient editor. But yeah, hopefully, like I said, this video helps you out. My camera's about to die, so I hope it doesn't cut off randomly. But if you have, like I said, any questions, by all means, comment down below. But yeah, cool. Hopefully this helped. I've spent so many hours trying to find videos about one certain thing and certain tips, but these are my tips to you. And like I said, they've changed since Lightroom has been constantly changing. So with that being said, like and subscribe. That's all I can tell you. Let me know if there's anything else or you have any questions. With that being said, catch you later.